7 of webinar series on bank branch audit, statutory audit. एंड बाय नाउ ऑलमोस्ट सबको स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट आ गई है, तो हमारी पार्टिसिपेशन ज्यादा से ज्यादा होना चाहिए, क्योंकि आज सब जान चुके हैं कि किसके पास ऑडिट है और किसके पास नहीं है। आज हमारे गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर है सी पंकज शाह जी। ही इज आवर सेंट्रल काउंसिल मेंबर फ्रॉम ICI CIRC। सो वेलकम सर टू दी डे 7 ऑफ द कॉन्फ्रेंस वेबिनार। और आज के
थैंक यू।
स्पीकर होंगे हमारे CA लोकेश गुप्ता जी। ही इज फ्रॉम दिल्ली। आई थिंक लोकेश गुप्ता जी नीड्स डजंट नीड एनी इंट्रोडक्शन। ऑलमोस्ट हर ब्रांच में शायद उन्होंने एक ना एक बार तो सेशन लिया ही होगा फॉर बैंक स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट। And today he will guide us on various practical approaches towards advances and deposits. करना तो है ऑडिट, लेकिन जाके करना क्या है, स्पेशली एडवांसेस और डिपॉजिट्स को में क्या देखना है, ही विल गाइड अस थ्रू दैट। सो पंकज जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि आप स्टार्ट करें विद योर वेलकम एड्रेस, एंड हम सबको ऑनर मिले थोड़ा आपसे सुनने का और आपका एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करने का।
थैंक यू रुचि जी। वैसे बैंक ऑडिट मेरा डोमेन नहीं है, बट दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ अवर प्रोफेशन। जब 2008 में सबप्राइम क्राइसिस हुआ था और यूएस के अंदर हम सब जानते हैं कि लेमन ब्रदर्स जैसी बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज, सारी पुरानी बैंक सब क्रैश कर गई थी। तब इंडियन इकोनॉमी और इंडियन बैंक्स जो बचे रहे, उसका सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रीजन है कि हमारे बैंक ब्रांच ऑडिट्स होते थे। सो दिस हैज प्लेड अ वाइटल रोल इन ओवरऑल ग्रोथ ऑफ इकोनॉमी। आज इंडियन इकोनॉमी जितनी रोबस्ट है और जितना उसमें बैंक्स का, PSU बैंक्स का रोल है, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रहा है टू डेवलप द रूरल सेक्टर ऑल्सो, स्मॉल सेल्स सेक्टर ऑल्सो। सो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट, एंड एट द आउटसेट आई टेक दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी। आई एम थैंकफुल टू अंकुर भाई, चेयरमैन ऑफ आवर रीजन, राजीव भाई, रुचि जी, धवल भाई, I can see, and we have a wonderful speaker today, Lokesh Gupta ji, who was recently there in Indore also. I had met him in bank branch audit seminar. बैंक ब्रांच ऑडिट का हमारे रीजन में स्पेशल महत्व है, क्योंकि आज 40% ऑफ इंडिया कवर करने वाला हमारा रीजन, इसमें वी हैव मैक्सिमम रूरल ब्रांचेस। नमस्कार जयंत भाई।
नमस्कार बच्चों, कैसे?
तो जी, तो हमारे यहाँ मैक्सिमम रूरल ब्रांचेस हैं, और रूरल ब्रांचेस के लिए, एडवांसेस के लिए, एग्रीकल्चरल एडवांसेस के लिए बहुत ही कंफ्यूजिंग रूल्स हैं। और बैंक ब्रांच ऑडिट का अगर सबसे हार्ट एंड सोल अगर कोई कहा जाता है, तो वो एडवांसेस और डिपॉजिट्स का एरिया है। तो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सेशन। एक बात मेंबर्स से जरूर शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि हमारे कंसेप्ट क्लियर होने चाहिए, क्योंकि बैंक वाला प्रयास करेगा हमको कंफ्यूज करने का, घुमाने का, कि नहीं सर ये देखिए हमारा इंटरनल सर्कुलर है, बट वी डोंट हैव टू गो अबाउट देयर इंटरनल सर्कुलर। RBI के जो नॉर्म्स हैं, सर्कुलर्स हैं, दोज आर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस। एग्रीकल्चरल सेक्टर के एडवांसेस हैं, तो वो कब NPA होते हैं, कितनी एग्रीकल्चरल साइकिल होती है, रबी खरीफ का सीजन होता है, ये सब चीजों को ध्यान में रखते हुए, समझते हुए, ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट एरिया है जिसमें हम जितना काम करेंगे, तो आई बिलीव कि कोई ब्रांच ऐसी नहीं होगी जिसमें MOC नहीं निकल सके। देखिए, सच को सच कहना है, और किसी से न डरना है, न किसी की बातों में आना है, और अपने बैंक ऑडिट का कर्तव्य अच्छे से निभाना है। तो मैं बधाई देना चाहूंगा CIRC को कि इतना बढ़िया कार्यक्रम आपने आयोजित किया, एंड डेफिनेटली ये सभी मेंबर्स के लिए यूजफुल रहेगा। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और अंकुर जी को नमस्कार। थैंक
नमस्कार भैया, नमस्कार।
थैंक यू पंकज जी, थैंक यू सो मच। एंड ही इज वेरी वेल सेड कि ऐसी कोई ब्रांच नहीं होगी जहां MOC ना दे पाए। और स्पेशली ये कि ब्रांच के जो मैनेजर्स होते हैं, दे ट्राई टू कंफ्यूज यू एंड आर्टिकुलेट थिंग्स सो दैट आप उनके पॉइंट्स ना निकाल पाओ। दे ऑलवेज से कि हमारा तो खुद का इंटरनल सर्कुलर है, आपकी गाइडलाइंस अलग है, हमारी अलग है, बट यू हैव टू बी क्लियर बाय योर कॉन्सेप्ट्स। थैंक यू सो मच पंकज सर। Now we also have our CIRC chairman, C. Ankur Gupta ji, and he's from Jaipur. So I request Ankur ji, please come forward for your welcome address. Sir, you are on mute, please.
Thank you, Ruchi ma'am. Respected Central Council member पंकज साजी, हमारे हमारे भैया, तो आपकी गाइडेंस में हम सब काम कर रहे हैं। आपने हमको टाइम दिया, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भैया। आपके बिजी शेड्यूल में से, क्योंकि आपके पास रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बहुत ज़्यादा है, और अभी एग्जामिनेशन में भी आप हो, तो काफ़ी कुछ करने को आपके पास है, तो टाइम निकालना आपके लिए चैलेंजेस रहता है। तो आपने टाइम दिया, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत थैंक यू भैया। और बाकी मेरे को कलीग्स, राजीव भैया जो इस प्रोग्राम के करता धरता हैं, जयेश तिवारी, जयेंद्र तिवारी जी जो सेक्रेटरी हैं वो, और अंकुर भाई और धवल भाई, और अदर CIRC मेंबर जो मेरे को कलीग हैं, मैनेजमेंट कमेटी में हैं, मेरे साथ कंधे से कंधा मिला के काम कर रहे हैं। और अच्छा प्रोग्राम डिजाइन किया सब लोगों ने मिलके। और सब लोगों ने थोड़ा थोड़ा इनकॉर्पोरेट किया कि किस तरीके से हम इस प्रोग्राम को सक्सेस कर सकें। और लास्ट मेंबर तक, जहाँ पे ब्रांचेस नहीं है, वहाँ मेंबर तक कैसे बेनिफिट पहुंचे। तो और आज के हमारे जो स्पीकर हैं लोकेश जी, उनका सेशन तो 29 या 30 तारीख का था, आई थिंक। उस समय उनकी थोड़ी हेल्थ इशू था, तो उन्होंने उस समय नहीं लेके आज लिया, तो उनके लिए भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। आपने हमको टाइम दिया अपने बिजी शेड्यूल में से निकाल के। सर मैं बस इतना सा कहना चाहूंगा, बैंक ऑडिट के बारे में जो आप कवर करो, एग्रीकल्चर जो एडवांसेज है उसमें हमको ये जो क्रॉप सीजन है, 12 महीने की, 6 महीने की, कितने की क्रॉप सीजन लेनी है, शॉर्ट क्रॉप सीजन, जो SLBC जो रिपोर्ट है वो स्टेट टू स्टेट गवर्न करती है। हर स्टेट में अलग 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 पैरामीटर होते हैं, उसके हिसाब से वो काम करती है। तो उसके बारे में, क्योंकि हमारा जो क्षेत्र है, जो इधर वाला CIRC का मैं बात करूं, तो 7 स्टेट हैं और ये सब एग्रीकल्चर बेल्ट है, यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा इंडस्ट्रीज नहीं है। तो मैक्सिमम जो अपने बोरोवर या ब्रांचेज हैं वो एग्रीकल्चर ब्रांचेज मिलेगी। तो आप थोड़ा सा इसमें कवर करने की कोशिश करना सर, कि इसको हम कैसे जस्टिफाई कर सकें कि हमारे मेंबर्स का काम भी हो जाए और ब्रांचेस भी और बैंक भी। ऐसा नहीं है कि हम पूरा आउटराइट ही बैंक को खराब करके आ जाएं, क्योंकि हमको भी पता है कि ओनली ना सिर्फ ना इंटरेस्ट का पोर्शन डिपॉजिट होता है, उसके अलावा ना वो रोल ओवर हो जाता है एग्रीकल्चर लोन, रीपेमेंट नहीं होता एग्रीकल्चर लोन का। बट फिर भी हमको इंडस्ट्रीज मतलब एग्रीकल्चर इंडस्ट्रीज को भी ध्यान में रखते हुए और अपने CA भाई का ध्यान में रखते हुए हमको कैसे उसको बेटर प्रेजेंट कर पाए, वो थोड़ा सा आप समझाने की कोशिश करना। दूसरा है कि गोल्ड लोन में भी ये सब इशू आ रहे हैं आजकल। गोल्ड लोन एग्रीकल्चर में गोल्ड लोन हो गया है, बाकी अदर जनरल गोल्ड लोन तो ही है। तो गोल्ड लोन को भी थोड़ा सा हम कैसे अपने हाथ सेव कर पाए, वो थोड़ा सा बताने की कोशिश करना। और जो हमारा मास्टर सर्कुलर है वो हमारी बाइबल है। RBI जो इशू करता है मास्टर सर्कुलर, उसके अकॉर्डिंग हमको ऑडिट करनी है। अब बैंक का जो पंकज भैया ने बताया कि बैंक का इंटरनल सर्कुलर क्या है क्या नहीं है, उससे हमको कोई मतलब नहीं है। बट हमको अल्टीमेटली जो यूज करना है वो मास्टर सर्कुलर यूज करना है RBI का। और साथ के साथ ही हमारी इंस्टीट्यूट की जो गाइडेंस नोट है उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए हमको काम करना है। तो मैं हैंड ओवर करूंगा मेरे माइक को आज के मैम को, MOC मॉडरेटर। थैंक यू मैम।
थैंक यू अंकुर जी फॉर शेयरिंग सो मच इनसाइट्स। और इसके बाद तो हमारी क्यूरियोसिटी और बढ़ गई कि हमें और क्या क्या सीखना है इन दिस सेशन। सो बिफोर वी प्रोसीड टुवर्ड्स द सेशन, आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक राजीव गुप्ता जी, धवल कोठारी जी, अंकुर गोयल जी एंड जयविंदर तिवारी जी, सेक्रेटरी CIRC, for their presence in the session today. Thank you so much for sparing our time and being here. सर हम डेफिनेटली आपको वेलकम करते हैं टुडेज सेशन, एंड वी थैंक यू अ लॉट for your time from your busy schedule, even if when you are not putting up well. So we wish you good health first of all. And then, sir, definitely we expect from you to deliver your session on advances and what all we need to check. Especially क्या हम मिस नहीं कर सकते हैं वो तो आप प्लीज जरूर बताइएगा, because it is beneficially for all of us. Over to you, sir.
थैंक यू रुचि जी, अंकुर जी, पंकज शाह जी, राजीव जी, जैनेन्द्र तिवारी जी, अंकुल गोयल जी. First of all, my thanks to CIRC for inviting me here to share my views on this kind of an annual ritual of bank statutory audit. Of course, the topic today is basically to talk about advances and deposits. So we'll try and cover both of them. Of course, advances being the most critical of all the areas in banking. So we'll talk about advances. Of course, we'll talk about agriculture advances in particular because uh, जितना मैंने देखा है और समझा है, in a lot of cases, lot of queries emanate from agriculture advances. So we'll try and understand the issues which are there in agriculture advances. What is exactly the NPA norms there, and we'll try and analyze why there's so much confusion, why people are so much confused about how to classify an account as an NPA. We'll try and understand that also. And of course, gold loans is one particular area of concern. RBI has also raised that concern very recently. There is a circular also which came on 30th September 2024, specifically in relation to gold loans. And a lot of issues were pointed out by RBI in relation to gold loans, some of which we are looking at in our audit, some of which we may not be aware of. So we'll try and understand and analyze what were the issues pointed out by the Reserve Bank of India. and the circular is very recent. So it would really help us in doing a good audit and pointing out any deficiencies which are there in the banking system. Now, let me just share my presentation so that we can just start off. I think the presentation शेयर करने की ऑप्शन आ नहीं रहेगा चाहिए ना शेयर
सर ये शेयर शेयर
हाँ
का
हाँ
ऑप्शन आ रहा होगा
एक सेकंड ये आपको विजिबल है क्या
सर
प्रेजेंटेशन
विजिबल है सर विजिबल है
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So, starting off with the area without wasting time, and I would request that if we can take up the questions, matlab, if you want, we can take it up alongside the presentation also, or we can take it up at the last, whatever ways you like. The idea is that most of the questions should get answered because a lot of things people are already aware of, but they find difficulty in getting their specific issue addressed. So the idea would be to answer as many queries, as many questions, as many clarifications as may be required. We should try and answer that, and we'll keep on running the presentation as much as the time permits. Okay, now when I look at the area of advances per se, I think the best way of looking at advances today from the point of view of IRAC norms would be to first start off with the circular of the Reserve Bank of India, which came on September 14, 2020, which talked about automation of IRAC system in banks. What is that automation they are talking about? That they are saying that system should handle both downgrade and upgrade of account through straight through process without manual intervention, that there should not be any manual intervention required. System should be designed in a manner that they can identify which accounts needs to be downgraded for support to the SMA category, and then from SMA category to the NPA category. And similarly, in case the account needs to be upgraded from an NPA category to a standard category, then income recognition, derecognition, provisioning in case an account has become an NPA, it should be system driven. There should not be any manual intervention. I think that is the first area we should understand, that everything RBI expect it to be system driven. Now, of course, any system which has an automation still requires some kind of a overriding control from some human element. So they have also given a manual override is possible here. That manual override they have said is subject would generate an audit trail. So say an account is being classified as an NPA by the system. There is a manual override which has been done, and from manual override, the account which the system was saying is an NPA has been kept as a standard account. That override would have audit trail, and that audit trail would be subjected to audit by the concurrent statutory auditors. This is very important. So the first step for NPA identification is that because in any system we rely upon the internal control system. This is part of the internal control system of the bank, that the system should be able to correctly identify NPAs. Wherever system has say identified an NPA, there was a manual intervention done and the account was kept as standard, it becomes a point which needs to be verified by the auditor to check whether that manual intervention was right or wrong, whether it was as per the norms given by the Reserve Bank of India. So any audit you start off in IREX side, first ask for this audit trail which is getting generated for all the manual intervention which has been done. Obtain the audit trail, check the audit trail, whether that manual intervention was right or wrong. In case you do not agree with the manual intervention which the bank has done, you have every right as an auditor to ask for an MOC or qualify your main report in case they do not agree to. So this is important, the first step, sir. Now, like any manual system, any system, there would be no system is foolproof. So there would be some shortcomings in the system. System may not be operating to the best of the efficiency which is expected of it. So what we have seen is this automation of IREX system in banks is working quite well when it comes to the TL and DL part of the advances, term loans and demand loans. Because the basic idea there is that in case you have given a term loan, you are expecting a payment to come And in case the payment is not coming as per the agreement between the bank and the borrower, and the overdue payment exceeds 90 days, the account would slip into NPA category. So the system is able to recognize and classify account as NPA quite effectively when it comes to basically these term loans and demand loans. The only problem area is where the master data itself has been incorrectly fed into the system. So any account you open in the system, it would have two kind of data. One would be the operational data, the transactional data, where it would reflect what kind of transactions have been done in the account. And second would be the master data, basically comprising of the KYC data and the details of the account which has been opened. So, like in case of a term loan, it would also reflect what is the kind of installment which has to be given by the customer for repayment. When would the installment start? What is the number of installment, what is the rate of interest. So this is all given, feed it into the system through a master data. Now, if you wrongly fill the master data, ultimately it would affect the accuracy of the result of the system and would result into an account which may be an NPA, not being classified as an NPA by the system. We found out many cases during the course of our audit. In one case, we found out that there was an account which was given in 2012. It was a car loan account. As per the policy of the bank, the car loan could have been given for 5 years. Now, in 2017, the account should have been closed down with full recovery. But in, say, 2022, we were able to see that the balance was there in the account, and the account was not even an NPA. It was showing as a standard account. When we opened the account, we saw that there was no recovery in the last 3-4 years. There was no installment being paid. Now, how could the system miss such an account from being classified as an NPA? The reason was, of course, when we looked at it, we found out that the EMI fed into the system was nil. There was no EMI amount in the system, and hence system was not expecting any repayment. And the account which was to be classified as an NPA was missed by the system to be classified as an NPA. So this is the shortcoming in the automation process, that if you give the wrong data to the system would not work effectively and would provide you a poor result, which may not be the expected result. Okay. So when you look at term loans and demand loans today, please check it from the angle of a particular issue in the system, that the master data is incorrectly fed. It may be due to the data being incorrectly fed at the beginning of the system. It was modified thereafter. On certain cases where there is a migration of data, so from legacy system to the new system, or from where the banks have merged from one bank to another, when there is a migration of data, sometimes the migration is not 100% accurate. There are errors in the migration process will result into wrong data, including wrong master data being generated or transferred to the system, new system, which results into these kind of discrepancies. So my request would be, sir, whenever you go to the bank, please check your loan portfolio, term loans and demand loans, with the idea that there might be cases where the wrong master data has been fed, and please test these accounts, like the example we gave, that in case the tenure of the loan is already over and the account is continuing. Of course, it can continue, but it would then be basically classified as an NP account, but it is still classified as a standard account. We have to look at it. Similarly, you can also look the accounts from the idea of that where the balance which should be there, considering at what point of time the loan was given, how many installments were there, what is the rate of interest. You can actually calculate what should be the balance, outstanding balance as on 31st March, compared with the actual balance, and try to judge whether there's some problem which needs an investigation, which would require you to call the loan documents and check whether the master data was correctly made or not. So we have been finding errors. So I think that would be the first step for you to, when you look at from the IREC point of view. Secondly, sir, I think the biggest area of concern today in banking is when we look from again the IRAC point of view is not basically the term loans and demand loans. They are basically the working capital finances like CC and OD, sir. The reason being multifold. One, CC and OD, the NPA norm says, we'll also look at those NPA norms. The NPA norms is twofold. So one, the NPA norms talks about that the account should be will come to. So this is how an NPA is classified in case of a CCOD account. It has two independent conditions and it says out of order. So if a CCOD account becomes out of order, it is classified as an NPA account. Okay. So the outstanding balance in the CCOD account is less than the sanction limit drawing power, but there are no credits continuously for 90 days. So one is the outstanding balance remains continuously in excess of the sanction limit drawing power for 90 days. So the first point of concern in case of CCOD is sanction limit is known to us, but the drawing power is to be calculated based upon some stock statement, some data which is provided by the borrower to the bank. We are finding a lot of discrepancies in these data. So this is the first point of concern where in case of CCOD account, one, the drawing power is not being properly calculated. And secondly, wherever the drawing power has been calculated also, they are not feeded into the system. Let's take an example to understand it. Now, suppose there is a sanction limit of 5 crore rupees and the drawing power only arrives at say 3.5 crores. So if you don't feed the drawing power in the system is unaware that the drawing power is 3.5 crores. Now, if the balance is maintained for continuously 90 days in excess of 3.5 crores, the account is going to become an out of order account and would result into account being classified as an NPA. But because you have not feeded the drawing power itself into the system would not be able to recognize this account as an NPA account. So this is the first issue when it comes to that automation circular which we are referring to, that the correct data in terms of drawing power is not being fed into the system. Now what to do, how to actually handle such situations is that in case the correct data is not provided, incomplete data is provided, please try and ask the branch to get the complete data for you. In case the branch does not provide the complete data, try and look at the last available in balance sheet. Like for this year, it would be for 31st March 2024. Look at that balance sheet, try and see from there whether the data which has been provided is correct or not. For example, if sundry creditors are not provided, look at the balance sheet as on 31st March 2024. See what are the figures of stock and debtors. If they are in line with what is there in the balance sheet, you can assume that the same level of creditors are maintained. You can pick up the creditors as per the balance sheet and then analyze what should be the drawing power. See whether it has been correctly fed into the system or not. If it is not so correctly fed, a comment is required in LFAR. Maybe a comment is also required by you in the IFC report if it is required to be signed by you. And thirdly, you will have to check with the drawing power which you have calculated whether the account is in order or they are out of order account which needs to be classified as an NPA. So this is the first step. Secondly, sir, even in cases where the CCOD account balance is less than the sanction limit drawing power, but there are no credits in the account for continuously for 90 days, or the credits are not enough to cover the interest debited during the previous 90-day period. Now, what happens is the balance is maintained. The account is not being basically maintained out of the sanction limit drawing power, whichever is less, but there are no credits. Now, this is again a concern area in case of CCOD account. Now, what has changed over the years is earlier what used to happen was that in case in a CCOD account there was no credit submission, sales proceeds were not routed to the account. We used to comment it through the LFAR. Now the scenario has changed, sir. 5 years, if we look back, it was possible for a lot of businesses to open current account with some other bank, even when they were maintaining current CC account with some other bank. So that was not something which was permitted earlier also. The enforcement was so lax that it was happening on a very regular basis. Now, recently, RBI has become from the last 2 years very, very strict about opening of current accounts, especially where there is a credit facility which has been enjoyed by that borrower with some other bank. Now, I am sure a lot of us would have also seen cases where the customer received notices from the banks stating that because you have been maintaining a current account with us, but you are also maintaining some credit facilities with some other bank, and hence we cannot maintain your current account. So the RBI has become very strict about maintenance of current account with any other bank. So in case the business is running, there should be credits in the account. The sales should be routed through the account. You should look at the balance sheet, see whether there is any current account which has been maintained. In case there is a current account which has been maintained, please ask for the bank statement of that current account also and see whether it is permitted under the regulation to maintain that current account. Why it is important, sir? It may be a case where a balance sheet is being showing some sales of say 2 crores rupees or 3 crore rupees, but there are no sale proceed. Then how much you can rely upon that balance sheet, which may be unaudited also, that whether there is actual sales or not, you will have to really think. And especially when there are no credits in the account or the credits are not enough to cover even the interest during the period, it shows a very, very poor state of health of the account, and the account may be even required to be classified as an NPA. So this is very important, sir. And please, when you check for those credits, what we have been seeing some malpractices which are happening at the banks. We have seen cases where the same CC account was debited and credited in a single transaction. Say CC account of Mr. Ramlal, so it was debited with 10,000 and CC account of Ramlal was credited with 10,000 just to generate credits in the account. This is something which is impermissible, which is something which is not allowed. But unfortunately, we have been seeing these kind of activities happening at the banks to help save the account from becoming an NPA. In case you find any such activity being done at your branch level, please ignore these entries and classify, and you may be required to classify such accounts as an NPA accounts. So this is important. Secondly, when we look at CCOD account, one of the biggest area of concern is non-renewal of accounts. This has been again a problem area in banks, especially in some specific bank. It is more of a it has acquired epidemic issues that they are not renewing the account for a very long period of time, sometimes 2 years, 3 years, and they say that our internal circulars allow short-term reviews and that we may continue the account without proper renewal for a very extended period of time. So please do not accept such kind of internal circulars or such kind of clarifications which are coming from the bank management. RBI is very categorical. It says that the process of renewal of the account has to start before the limit is expired, not thereafter. Now, for any reason, if the account is not getting renewed, the customer is not able to provide the document, or the bank, after submission of the document by the customer, has not been able to renew the account, they have allowed a further period of 6 months from the date of expiry for the renewal of the account. But even after 6 months of the date of expiry, if the account is not renewed, then it shows a very serious issue with the account. The serious issue may be that either the account the business has been closed down or has been curtailed to a very great extent, and the customer knows if he submits the document to the bank may not be able to renew the limit at the same level and would result into problems for me. So he's not submitting the document. Or after submission of the document, the bank is able to see that they would not be able to continue the limit at the same level. So what they are trying to do is to keep on running the account on the basis of short-term reviews rather than properly renewing the account with the balance sheet and the financial document which has been submitted. So please do not accept these short-term reviews. Ask them to show you the financial data. If they are not showing financial data, or the financial, on the basis of the financial data, suppose the limit is 5 crores and the total sales in the account is 7 crores, then how can, in case the sales is only 7 crores, how can the bank allow a limit of 5 crores? They cannot, right? And this type of, even if there is a short-term review or something, and you can see that the limit cannot be maintained at the same level, please do not accept, and you may recalculate what should be the idle limit based upon the internal circulars of the bank. That in case the customer has arrived for the first time and given a balance sheet, what would be the limit which would have been granted by the bank, based upon which you can decide whether the account needs to slip into NPA category. Similarly, what we have seen is cases where what banks have done is they have actually allowed, so you go to the bank, you ask for all the accounts where review renewal has not been done within the last 6 months. So pending for renewal for more than 6 months. Generally, bank would provide you a list which says there are no such accounts. But what we have seen sometimes is that this change, the bank management is changing date of renewal in the system without actually doing any renewal activity. So this is again something which is happening. Again, the automation system in the banks for classification of account as NPA would fail in case you change the date in the system without modify the date of renewal in the system without actually doing a renewal. So we have seen cases where there are no documents whatsoever in the file that there has been a renewal process or even a review process which has been done, but the system dates had been modified by the branch manager. Please check for such cases, that wherever you see there is a problem with the account. For large accounts, of course, you have to go and check for in any case. But in other cases, wherever you feel the account is not running properly, please go and check whether even a proper review has been done or proper renewal has been done or not. And you should not only rely upon the date as given in the system, because a lot of time these dates have been modified without actually doing any review renewal in the real sense of the word. Okay, so these are the some of the issues. Thirdly, in case of CCOD accounts, and I think one of the very critical factors which we have been seeing is end use of funds. Again, this is a very serious area of concern. Sometimes we, in all the issues of NPAs and how to find an NPA and looking at the technical parameters of an NPA, we forget to look at the point that, see, if an account is going to become an NPA, first there would be a diversion of funds. There can be two cases. Either there is an actual loss in the account and there is a shortage of funds because of the losses which have been incurred in the business, and therefore the account is showing weaknesses, which is resulting into account requiring to be classified as a SMA or a NPA account, or there would be an actual diversion of fund which would have been done before the account would slip into NPA category. So please look at the end user fund, which is very, very critical, sir. The end user fund is required to be verified in case of term loans also, demand loans also, but is more important, more critical in case of working capital facilities like CC and OD, sir. Because in case of term loans, the disbursement usually happens once or twice in the lifetime of the loan. But in case of CCOD account, the diversion can happen at any point of time. Okay. Initially, the funds may have been utilized for the business, but later on, the funds may have been taken out and diverted to some other non-business purposes or something which is basically to basically defraud the account also. So in case of CCOD account, continuous monitoring in terms of end use is very much essential. So we have only 2 years back pointed out cases of end use of funds. There was an account of nearly 40 crores which the bank has given during the year, out of which around 28 crores was a CC account, in which we found out that 23 crores were taken out from the CC account, transferred to the savings account of the promoters, and from the savings account of the promoter, the funds were remitted outside India, sir. So remitted outside the bank, sir. So these kind of issues were we have seen, sir. when we inquired from the branch that why did you allow the money to be transferred to the promoter's savings account, and especially from this promoter's savings account, the money has traveled from outside your bank, they had no explanation to give. Similarly, we found another case, sir, where a CC account was given in the last financial year, and there was a disbursement of nearly 8 crore rupees, which was done in that CC account. When we looked at the balance sheet which was available, there was no sale purchase in the account, there was no stock in the account, and in the balance sheet, and that 8 crore was appearing somewhere as in the current assets as checks in hand. So these kind of diversion of funds we have noticed, we have reported. Banks have, of course, a lot of reluctances there in on the side of the banks, but they have accepted these MOCs also. They have accepted that there is a fraud in the account also in certain cases, and these end use is very critical. So when you look at these CCOD accounts to check whether they have remained within the limit, whether the interest portion has been uh, covered by the credits in the account, please also look at the debits to the account. See whether these debits seems to be for the business purpose for which the loan was given or not. Even working capital finance used for buying a fixed asset or buying a property, even which may have been used for the business, may amount to a diversion of fund. Because the working capital facility, essentially being a short-term facility, cannot be used for a long-term purchase of a fixed asset or a property, etc. So these are some of the critical points which I wanted to bring to your notice. So when we look at NPA, please don't only look at from the traditional point of view, which we have been seeing, things have changed. The compliance level at the level of the banks have gone up also. So please try and look from when I look at from the term loans and demand loans point of view, look at the creation of that master data issues. Like I pointed out that the period of the loan is over, the loan is continuing. And when you look from the CCOD point of view, unless until you look at the operations of the account, you will not be able to either judge end use of fund, neither you will be able to check whether the outstanding balance is made in line with the sanction limit drawing power. You will not be able to realize the DP, whether it is properly computed, whether it is updated into the system. So these are all the areas which you will have to look at when you look at the transactions in the CCOD form. So please, you have to basically look at from that angle. Now, uh, for drawing power, I can show you a few points which I think would help you. So when I look at drawing power, so I think this is important, sir. This, in case the customer is a corporate customer and CARO is applicable to it. So on the basis of the audit report, you can see whether the CARO is applicable or not. If the CARO is applicable, there are certain points in CARO which are very useful for an auditor to a banking company. Like the point says sanction working capital in excess of rupees 5 crore in aggregate. And then it talks about these statements, quarterly statements submitted to the bank are in agreement with the books of account or not, right? So that you have to look at. Then there is a point which talks about default in repayment of loans or other borrowings. Then there is a point which talks about uh, whether a short-term funds raised for short-term have been utilized for long-term purposes. So these are some of the important points which you have to look at. This is an example of reporting in CARO. Uh, this is we have taken out from one of the annual returns of a listed company. So this is what has been reported by the statutory auditor of that listed company. If you look at it, they have reported that the sundry creditors which have been reported, either they have not been reported at all, or what has been reported is a short reporting of sundry creditors. So if you are looking at the limit of this customer, and if you would have looked at this CARO report, then on the basis of this itself, you could have modified the DP and tested the account from the point of view of basically understanding whether the account needs to be classified as an NPA or not. whether the account is in line with what is required to be done. Okay, so this is important, sir. So these kind of data which is already available to you, we can use for the purpose of doing our audit, sir. Okay. Next, what we can look further when we look at this area, sir. Okay. One is also when we look at this area of advances, there are also some certificates which are required to sign. Now, in case of certificates, what happens is generally they are given to us at the last moment. So this creates a problem for us. We are not able to verify those certificates. And sometimes what is also happening is that sometimes we are made to believe that these certificates are generated by the system. And because they are generated by the system, we are not required to practically check these certificates because, of course, because they are generated by the system and hence they would be correct. So let me tell you, sir, a lot of cases, these system generated certificates which are produced before us for verification, they are not actually system generated. They may be basically printed through the system, but may not be system generated. Example of a certificate which we have to give is interest summation. So it was told that I should talk about agriculture advances. Let me also cover interest summation in case of agriculture. Okay. So interest summation in case of agriculture, it comprises of two interest summation. One is 1.5% interest summation, which was 2% up to financial year 21-22. Thereafter, it was reduced in 22-23, 23-24, and now for 24-25 to 1.5%. And there is a 3% interest summation. And generally, what I have seen, sir, in my personal experience during the audit of these branches, what I have seen is that these interest summation certificate, either the data is not provided to us for verification. So the accounts, number of account in these cases would be in thousands at the most, at the least. So you will have to basically ask for the worksheet from the branch key for which account, what kind of interest summation has been granted, and what is the amount of interest summation, how it has been calculated. Unless until you obtain these worksheets, sir, you will not be able to check this certificate. So please mandatorily ask for these worksheets for verification of this interest summation. If the branch tells you the worksheets are not available, these are not given to the branch auditors, it is generated at the zonal office level or a regional office level, please do not sign the certificate as correct because you have not been able to verify the certificate. Let us try and understand, in short, what are the important interest subvention issues which we have seen. What is 1.5% interest subvention? So it's a short-term crop loan up to rupees 3 lakhs per farmer. So suppose customer has been given a KCC of 5 lakhs. Whether interest subvention is available? Yes. Interest subvention is available up to a limit of 3 lakh rupees, sir. Okay. So there was a recent uh, announcement in the budget in which they said the limit of this 3 lakhs per farmer would be enhanced to 5 lakhs per farmer. I have yet to see any circular being issued by the Reserve Bank of India in this regard. So unless and until there is a circular which has come in this effect, I don't think we can accept this limit of 5 lakhs. So we'll have to continue unless until there is a circular which will come in the next 2 to 3 days. I think we'll have to continue with the limit of 3 lakhs per farmer. Okay. The short-term crop loan up to 3 lakhs per farmer, if provided at rate of interest at the rate of 7%. Okay. So basically the concept is that it should be provided at the rate of 7%. And what is the period for which interest submission is to be given? From the date of disbursement up to the actual repayment date or the due date fixed by the bank, whichever is earlier, subject to a maximum period of 1 year. For this period, the interest submission will be given. Now, basically, when you look at it, so it means this 7% is the interest rate offered by the bank to the customer up to 3 lakhs per farmer. If the loan is more than 3 lakhs, then what the bank usually do is they would offer a tiered interest rate. So up to 3 lakhs, they would offer a 7% interest rate. Beyond 3 lakhs, they would charge a higher interest rate. It can be 10%, 11%, 12%, whatever the bank has decided. So first thing you have to check is whether the bank is correctly charging the interest rate up to rupees 3 lakhs, which is 7%. If they, in case 1.5% interest subvention is to be given. Okay. Now this 1.5% interest subvention is not meant for the farmer, sir. Sometimes people are confused. They feel this 1.5% interest subvention goes to the benefit of the farmer. This is not right, sir. The interest subvention goes to the benefit of the bank, sir. This is the income of the bank. Okay. So please do not get confused. This subvention of 1.5% is not meant for the farmer. It is the income of the bank. It is not credited to the account of the farmer. Okay. So this you have to keep in mind. Of course, you have to also remember the Aadhaar has been made mandatory. So without having Aadhaar linked to the account of the farmer, you will not be able to give interest subvention. So in the sample cases which you test, please check whether the Aadhaar linkage has been made mandatory and what is the process of the bank. Then in case wherever they are giving interest subvention, whether they are able to check for the mandatory Aadhaar linkage or not. Okay. Then there is an interest subvention of 3%. So interest subvention of 3%, it is applicable for prompt repayment. What is the meaning of prompt repayment? Prompt repayment means there is a due date fixed by the bank. If the farmer repays the complete principal as well as the interest by the due date, he is eligible to claim an interest subvention of prompt repayment. That prompt repayment is basically 3% from the date of disbursement till the actual date of repayment or the due date fixed by the bank, whichever is earlier, subject to a maximum period of 1 year. This is again available for short-term crop loan up to rupees 3 lakhs per farm. Okay, so that is how, because the bank would offer the loan at the rate of 7%, and there is a 3% interest subvention which comes to the farmer. So 7 minus 3, 4% is the net rate to the farmer. So generally you may have heard cases where somebody may have quoted that in case the farmer is promptly repaying, he gets the loan at the rate of 4%. So this is how that 4% actually arrives. Okay. I hope this deliberation is helping you in understanding how the 7 and 4 and that 1.5% interest subvention is calculated. Okay. Now, please also remember there are two types of KCC in case of agriculture now. So KCC for crop loan, KCC for animal husbandries and fisheries. Please do not get confused, sir. Both KCCs are different. The norms are different, the repayment due dates are different, even the NPA norms are different. So the KCC for crop loan goes with the concept of some crop season, which we are going to understand. As far as KCC for animal husbandries and fisheries goes, they works on the concept of 90 days norms, the normal NPA norms, and they may be required to be classified as an NPA based upon the normal 90 days norms. So please do not get confused when you go to the bank and try and applying crop loan funda in all the KCCs. So only for crop loan cases, you will have to apply crop season funda. And wherever a KCC has been granted for animal husbandries and fisheries, etc., it is to be judged based upon the 90 days norms, basically. Okay. Now, this interest subvention is also applicable to KCC given for animal husbandries and fisheries. The overall limit would be maintained at 3 lakh per farmer. Okay. So if a farmer is maintaining both KCC for crop loan and animal husbandry, the overall limit of that farmer is of 3 lakhs per farmer only. The individual limit of animal husbandry is only 2 lakhs only, right? So if a customer is only enjoying limit of KCC for animal husbandry, the interest subvention would be granted only up to 2 lakhs per farmer. If he is enjoying both the limits, crop loan plus animal husbandry, the overall limit is 3 lakhs, and the priority is given to the KCC for crop loan. Let's take an example to understand. Suppose a customer is enjoying a limit of 4 lakhs of KCC, 2.5 lakhs is for crop, 1.5 lakh is for animal husbandry. So he can only get the interest subvention up to 3 lakhs. So he'll get interest subvention of 2.5 lakhs on crop and only zero point 0.5 on animal husbandry because the priority is given to the interest subvention for crop. And for prompt repayment, you will have to check the prompt repayment of both the loans, both the crop loan also and the animal husbandry fishery loans also. Okay, so this is about interest submission. In case you have any issues, we can discuss, you can raise queries and we can discuss. Okay, now coming to the area of asset classification. Now, sometimes we forget in all that halabala about NPAs that basically advances are to be classified into three major areas, which is one sector-wise, security-wise, and quality-wise. Sector-wise, if you look at it is divided into priority sector and non-priority sector. Security-wise, if you look at secured by tangible assets, secured by guarantee, and unsecured. And if you look at quality-wise, then you have standard, and standard also you have now standard normal and SMA 0, 1, 2. And in NPAs you have substandard, doubtful, and again three categories D1, D2, D3, and then a loss SM. If there is any change, sir, any change in either sector-wise classification or security-wise classification or quality-wise classification, you will be required to put a MOC, sir. So it is not necessary the MOC has to come from making an account as an NPA only. It can come from any of these areas. Okay. Generally for other areas, generally the banks is not so insistent in case they have done a wrong classification and you show them that. So they are generally more willing to accept a MOC. So you can actually look at that area also. Okay. Now when I look at the the classification of NPAs, I was told to specifically cover agriculture advances. So we'll talk about agriculture. Now, when I look at agriculture advances, the first question which comes to my mind is, I go to a rural branch. It would have KCC for crop loan. It would have KCC for animal husbandries and fisheries. Okay, and we have discussed the norms are different for both of them. There would be other loans also, like the agriculture is that farmer might have taken some car loan, some tractor loan, some housing loan, okay, some gold loan also. Some persons who are not farmers, they might have some loans in the branch, like somebody running a restaurant there, somebody running a shop selling clothes or food items or some other item, some medicine shop. So they would also have these accounts with these branches which are of the public sector bank which are at rural areas. Okay. Now the first doubt which comes to my mind is whom to apply this concept of crop season and who would go to NPAs as per the normal 90 days norms. So that is the first question which comes to my mind. So somebody might try to apply his logical sense into which should be covered by crop season and which should not be covered by crop season. The best way to actually check this is that you should look at the annexure 2 to the master circular on IRAC norms. It provides you a list of farm credits. Any account which falls within the definition of farm credit is considered as a loan to which this crop season concept applies, and any account which do not fall in annexure 2 is considered as a account to which normal 90 days norms apply. Okay, so this is the first. Then there is a concept of crop season. What is crop season? How has defined crop season is it is the period up to the date of harvesting of the crop. So आपने crop को बोया सीड को, the date you harvest, the account becomes basically the crop season gets over on the date of harvesting. The repayment is generally fixed thereafter because there is a marketing period which is provided to the farmer, because only through harvesting of the crop the farmer would not be able to repay the loan. So there is a marketing period which is made available to the farmer, and only after that marketing period is over, then the account is the repayment is expected. Okay, but the crop season is only up to the date of harvesting, that you have to remember. Now for every state that would be different because of the seasonal issues, because of the kind of crops which is grown there, because of the fertility of the land, because of the availability of the water. So the crop season might change from state to state. So what RBI said is that the state level bankers committee would issue a circular stating which crops are grown in the state, what is the crop season, when they are when the seed is put into soil, and when you are able to basically harvest the crop, and what is the scale of finance. Scale of finance basically means that if you grow, say suppose wheat, so how much finance the bank is going to give you based upon the area cultivated. Okay, so this is expected from the SLBC. Now, what SLBCs have tried to do or have been doing is they have been also issuing circulars saying when the account would become an NPA. So that circular is not binding on us. Rather, most of these circulars somehow, as my personal opinion, is incorrect based upon when we verify it with the IREC norms as given by the Reserve Bank of India. And we'll try and analyze or try and understand what, according to me, in my humble opinion, is the proper norms as far as IREC norms application in case of agriculture is there. So you must have heard of the concept of short duration crop and the long duration crop. Any crop season of up to 1 year is considered as a short duration crop. Any period, any crop which has a crop season of more than 1 year is considered as a long duration crop. Okay. And for NPA, you have for short duration crop, you have to basically check that the installment of principal or interest thereon remains overdue for 2 crop seasons. And in case of long duration crop, the installment of principal or interest thereon remains overdue for 1 crop season. Okay, let us try and analyze it from a very practical point of view. So this is the chart which we have with us. Okay, look at the first two, basically the columns. This is an example of a short-term crop. This format is part of the guidance note on audit of banks, part B, which is applicable to banks statutory audit, branch statutory audit. There is a specific chapter on agriculture advances. This chart is available there, so you can also download this chart from the guidance note also. Okay. So if you look at Kharif and Rabi, these are the two crops. We have assumed the crop season as April 21 to 30th September 21, Rabi October 21 to 31st March 22. So 6 months period we have assumed is the crop season. Generally, this is how it actually works also. The harvesting time in the first case is September 21, second it is March 22. Now, as I told you, because the crop has been harvested, it does not mean the farmer has the money to repay the loan. So some marketing period is given to them so that they are able to market the produce and give those funds back to the bank. Okay. Now, so here we assume 3 months marketing period. Certain banks are now giving 6 months marketing period. It does not make much of a difference. We'll understand what difference does it make. So please first understand from the point of view of 3 months. So 31st December 21 we have assumed is so September 21 the harvest would happen. 31st December 3 months sign has been given for marketing. So the repayment due date has been fixed as 31st December 21 and 30th June 2022. Okay. Interest summation of 3% is available if the complete payments is received by this 31st December 21 and 30th June 2020. Okay. Even if a portion of the amount is not received, then the interest summation would not be made available to the customer. Date of irregularity would be in case the customer does not pay, the account would slip into overdue category on 31st December 2021 itself. And on the second one, 30th June 2020. Let me not remind you on this, sir. Please be very clear. I'm sure a lot of us would be already clear. In case there is an installment, which is, say, example is, in case the installment is due on 1st August, say 2024, if it is not repaid, if the complete payment is not received on 1st August 2024, the account becomes overdue on 1st August 2024 itself. Sometimes we used to believe that the account would become overdue on the next day. So 2nd August would be the date of overdue. This is not correct, sir. RBI has clearly clarified that the account becomes overdue on the same day. Okay. So account here would become overdue on 31st December 21, 30th June 2022. Now you have to give two more crop season. Crop season I have already defined to you basically is 6 months period right up to the date of harvesting. So the first crop season would end on the next crop which comes is 31st December 2022, the 30th June 2022. The point here, you see here, oh, sorry. This is 30th June 2022, sir. So this is the first crop season end date. And in case payment is not received, the next crop would come at September 22. And after taking care of the marketing period, the second crop season would end on 31st December 2022. This is the date. Okay. So date of NPA would be 31st December 2022. So practically 1 year for two crop season and 9 months originally it was given for repayment. So in a period of 21 months, the account would slip into NPA category. If here in place of 3 months marketing period, the bank has given a 6 months marketing period, the account would slip into NPA category in 24 months, sir. So generally, in a normal scenario where there are two crops, short-term crops, the account would slip into NPA category now. From the date of disbursement, it will take 2 years for the account to slip into NPA. Now, what certain SLBCs are doing is they are saying a period of 3 years or sometimes 4 years or longer also for an account to become an NPA account. This is not, in my humble opinion, as per the RBI norms. Good thing is this example which is there is part of the guidance note of the auditor on banks issued by the institute. So it gives you that credibility that the interpretation which is being shown here is the correct interpretation of these guidelines. So please consider NPAs based upon the guidelines as provided by the institute only, sir. Okay. If you have any issues, we can discuss on it. On agriculture advances, if there are any questions, sir. There is one question which I can see from CA Giriji. If one is having petrol pump and also having a KCC loan and use KCC loan in petrol pump business, financial account shows this, what will be the NPA position if it is declared as NPA, then how much interest amount shall be reversed? So, sir, if KCC amount has been used for business of petrol pump, it is no longer a agriculture advance, sir. It needs to be classified as maybe a CC limit or a term loan towards that petrol pump business and would fall into NPA if the repayment is not received in a period of 90 days. This is one. Then, of course, end use of fund, as we discussed, is very important. In case there is a diversion of fund from agriculture activity towards the business of petrol pump, the account, because of this diversion of fund, may also be required to be classified as a RBI is very categorical. If you look at the circulars across, especially the circular on frauds, it says any diversion of fund amounts to the account requiring to be class. That would mean the account is a fraudulent account. It may be required to be shown as a fraud account. So this is important, sir. The diversion itself may require the account to slip into NPA. Okay. And reversal of interest. So reversal of interest, the norm says in case an account becomes an NPA, from the date of NPA, no interest would be debited to the account unless until it is realized. And any interest which was already debited to the account and which is not realized would be required to be basically de-recognized. So how much back we can go? So say suppose an account was given in on 1st April 2022. It has become NPA on 1st December 2024. So for checking on de-recognition of interest, how much back we can go? Sir, we can go up to the date of disbursement. So we can even reverse the interest of previous financial years in case they were not realized. Okay. Secondly, you have to remember, sir, there was a clarification again which came from the Reserve Bank of India. Suppose as the part of the sanction letter itself, there was a moratorium on payment of the interest also. So the sanction letter said that the account may you don't have to pay principal as well as interest for a certain period. There was a moratorium. So the account cannot slip during the moratorium period. After the completion of the moratorium period, the account has slipped into NPA category. Any interest debited during the moratorium period cannot be de-recognized because they say this has been already capitalized as part of the loan, and whatever installment has been considered has been fixed after considering the principal amount and the interest during the moratorium period. So this interest cannot be de-recognized. Okay. RPG has a question: car purchase under agriculture loan going used for going farm allowed or not? Say was there. So the car purchase can be done by a farmer, there is no issue, but that is not an agriculture activity. It cannot be considered as part of agriculture activity, and hence this car would basically amount to a simple car loan as it's given to any person, and the similar norms would continue to apply to it. Okay, so this is there. Any other questions on agriculture specifically, or we can move forward? Okay, Harpreet is saying that they have shown an internal circular which may have said that if a car is being used for going to the fields, that it may be classified as an agriculture activity. So wherever there is an internal circular which is shown to you, you have to consider whether the RBI has given a discretion, whether the RBI has given a discretion to the banks as far as that regard, that point is there or not. These issues, whether such a loan would be considered as a farm credit or not, is based upon the RBI guidelines. So if there is any difference, any contravention, any basically contradiction of the RBI guidelines by internal circular, you have every right to disregard the internal circular. You are doing audit under the RBI guidelines, sir. Basically the RBI guidelines and not under the internal guidelines. In case you are an internal auditor, then you might say that I am abided by the internal guidelines of the bank. But as far as these NPA norms, classification of account as priority sector, non-priority sector, you will have to follow the RBI guidelines, and the RBI guidelines does not permit such kind of a loan to be classified as a farm credit. So you will have to work accordingly, sir. Okay. Now moving ahead, sir. So this was, now there are certain times what happens is that you go to agriculture branch, what you find is that there are a lot of accounts which are pending for payment from the last 4 or 5 years, and the customer is actually not repaying the loan also. And when you want to ask the branch why they have not been classified as an NPA account, They sometimes tell you, sir, there was a natural calamity which happened at the bank, at the state or the district. And because of that natural calamity, what has happened is basically the customer has not repaid, and they were not required to pay because of this natural calamity. So, what is this circular of natural calamity? What is the concept of restructuring under natural calamity? Now, the first thing which you have to understand, what is restructuring itself, and what is the impact of restructuring of an account on the IREX status of that account. So the thumb rule is, sir, what is restructuring first of all? The restructuring is that in case you are giving any benefit to the borrower, what can be the benefit? You are reducing the rate of interest, you are increasing the tenure of the loan, you are reducing the EMI amount of the loan, you are giving some moratorium to the customer. These are all the benefits to the customer. So you are giving some benefit to the customer. The benefit has been given due to the financial difficulty of the borrower. So there should be a financial difficulty. Suppose a customer comes to the banks, tells them that I'm maintaining a CC limit with you. You are charging me a rate of interest of say 10.5%. A new bank has opened. The branch manager came to me. He said we are ready to finance you at maybe said 9.5%. So the bank, under that pressure of a competing bank taking away that account, reduces the rate of interest from 10.5 to 9.5. This is not restructuring in the norms of the RBI, because the reduction has been done not due to the financial difficulty of the borrower, but due to competitive reasons. Okay, so this is important, sir. So sometimes we are seeing cases where due to these issues, restructuring is being done. So wherever there is a restructuring, the thumb rule is if account is restructured, the account, if standard, would slip into NPA category on the date of restructuring. If the account is standard, would slip into NPA category on the date of restructuring just because it has been restructured. And if the account was already in NPA at the time of restructuring, the account would continue to be in NPA and would slip into further category. So if it may have been a substandard at the time of restructuring, it will continue to fall in further areas like doubtful and all as per the pre-restructuring schedule. So this is the impact of a restructuring. So sometimes what we have been seeing, sir, is that a lot of times the banks are restructuring the account, but are not saying it is restructured. They are saying it is a refacement. So please, you'll have to understand from the point of view of RBI what is restructuring. In case an account is restructured, the account will slip into NPA category. Okay. Uh, Except in certain cases, like where you do a restructuring of agriculture advances under the issue of natural calamities. Similarly, there are two, three other circulars where even if you restructure, the account does not slip into NPA category because of restructuring. Like in case of projects under implementation, like in case of during COVID, there were few circulars which came for restructuring, and there were few circulars relating to MSME where restructuring was allowed and the account was not required to slip into NPA category. But except for all those cases, sir, in all other cases, if the account is restructured, it would slip into NPA category. Now, the circular of restructuring under natural calamity says there are 12 types of natural calamity which is covered here. Okay. And there should be a declaration of natural calamity. Then there is a circular of the state level bankers committee or district consultative committee stating how much crop loss has been done and how much loss to the productive assets like pump set or sprinkler system has happened. Okay. So if the crop loss assess is less than 33%, no benefit of this circular is available. And secondly, restructuring should be completed within a period of 3 months. Restructuring completion means two things. One, you change the data in system, that you change the date of repayment, you change uh, the rate of interest, whatever you have done, what are benefits you have given to the customer. And the revised terms and conditions should be noted down as part of a revised agreement, and it should be signed by both the borrower as well as the branch manager. And it should be done within 3 months of that natural calamity. Okay, so this is important. Just saying the account would not slip into NPA category is not enough. There should be a proper restructuring. And the most important, what they have said is the account should not be overdue at the time of occurrence of the natural calamity. Overdue does not mean NPS. It means that the due date has not arrived and the account, in case the due date has arrived, the customer has not paid, the account is already overdue, then even if there is a natural calamity, he will not get the benefit of this. So this is important, sir. Okay. So whenever the bank is trying to claim a benefit of the circular of natural calamity, please check from the norms whether the benefit of this circular is available to the customer or not. In case it is not so available, please do not accept any such condition. Okay. So there is another question which has come. It says one Giriji is asking if there is any thumb rule about KCC loan when it will be NPA. So for KCC we have already discussed. First, you will have to distinguish KCC is for crop loan or animal husbandry and fisheries. If it is for animal husbandry and fisheries, you will have to check the due date as per the sanction letter. If the repayment has not come within 90 days of the due date, then the account would slip into NPA category. In case of KCC for crop loan, we have already discussed. For short-term crops, we discussed where there are at least two crops in a year, that they would generally slip within 21 to 24 months from the date of disbursement. If the complete repayment of principal plus interest has not come, the account would slip into NPA. So that you can consider. Then Ashutosh ji is asking if interest principal not fully deposited up to due date, normal interest rate says 10% should be charged after due date or from the initial disbursement date. So in case of KCC, sir, say if the interest, the repayment has not come by the due date, the normal interest or any penal interest will be charged only after the due date is over. It cannot be charged from the initial date. That is not the basically the circular guidelines. Okay, so it will be charged after the due date has expired and the customer has not repaid. Okay, then Avinav ji is asking, sir, KCC loans needs to be closed after completion of tenure of 5 years, or it can be renewed, sir. So if you where that 5-year funda has come from, if you understand, it has come from the KCC master circular. So master circular says a KCC limit is granted for 5 years. Okay, and it has given a formula also as to how a KCC limit is created, how a maximum permissible bank finance is calculated in case of KCC. So limit is basically granted for 5 years. After the expiry of 5 years, the account may be continued with a renewal. There is no limitation. There is no restriction as to continuation of the account after 5 years. Of course, you will have to again calculate you'll have to do a renewal, you'll have to recalculate the maximum permissible bank finance and then finance accordingly. Okay. Giriji asking whether repayment of KCC loan be paid from CC account or current accounts. So, sir, KCC being loan given to agriculture is generally you will not find CC account given to the same person. In case there are CC accounts which have been given to the same person and the repayment has come from the CC account or the current account of that person, you will have to check where the funds have come from. Whether the funds have come from the sale of the agriculture produce for which the loan was granted or it is from some other area. The reason why I'm telling you this is because in case the funds are being generated from some other business, etc., then you will have to also check whether this KCC loan is a genuine loan for agriculture activity or not, sir. Or the funds, the loan has been only taken because it has a lower rate of interest and the funds are being misutilized or has been transferred for utilization for a business which is not related to that agriculture activity. So that is important, sir. Okay. Now, a few more issues which we can actually cover here, sir. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. Let us cover a few more things. Now, sir, this is the circular of 2018, December 2018, which came. Now, there is again a confusion regarding CERSAI. A lot of people still believe that CERSAI charge is to be created for immovable properties, which have been taken as equitable mortgage. Okay, but this is not true, sir. The the charge for CERSAI is to be created for immovable properties taken as equitable mortgage or a registered mortgage, like in case of agriculture. They are to be created for hypothecation of plant and machinery, stocked, book debts, including receivable, whether existing or future, security interest in intangible assets like know-how, patents, copyrights, trademarks, license, franchisee. So if they have been offered as a security, you can create a charge over it. You have to create a charge in CERSAI. Security interest in any under construction, residential or commercial or a part thereof. So you do a tripartite agreement for under construction property. That also needs to be registered as a charge under CERSAI. So sometimes we are seeing cases where the banks are not doing it as a practice, and we have not been reporting it also sometimes. So that is very critical that we do it as an auditor. Then, in case of non-agriculture gold loans, lot of issues again, especially in case you are doing a branch in South, you are traveling to some area in South, you will see a lot of jewel loans in branches, unlike North where the number might be lower. So, what is the concept of non-agriculture gold loans? So, the term is nearly for 12 months. It can be for lower, but not exceeding 12 months at a time. Important thing is loan to value ratio, LTV we say, should not exceed 75% of the value of the gold ornaments and jewelry. So it cannot exceed 75%. Interest can be charged on the monthly basis, but it is due for payment only on the due date. So interest charged on monthly basis may not be repaid during the month. It is given as a bullet repayment. Principal plus interest complete has to be paid at the end of the tenure. And minimum margins to be maintained. An account would be classified as NPA even before the due date of repayment if prescribed margin is not maintained, the LTV is not maintained. Then IRAC norms would be applicable once the principal and interest becomes overdue. And you cannot give any loan against bullion or primary gold. You can give only up to specially minted gold coins sold by banks up to 50 grams per customer, not beyond that. Okay, so this is the basic norms. There was a RBI circular which came this time on September 30, 2024, which talked about basically the issues being noticed in case of gold loan. The few issues which have been pointed out there is valuation of gold loan in absence of customer. So you're valuing gold without the customer being present there. Then there are BCs, banking correspondents, which are used especially in rural areas. So credit appraisal and valuation done by the banking correspondent himself and stored with them. Even the gold is stored with them. This is not a proper practice. These are all areas where they have shown a concern and said these are not good practices. They should not be allowed to continue. And use of internal account for disbursement as well as repayment of loan. Lack of a robust system for periodical LTV monitoring. I told you in case the LTV is not being maintained, then the account can slip into NPA before even the date of the due date of the loans. So they have found that there's no proper system of monitoring of LTVs. End user fund not verified for non-agricultural. Again, a problem area. We talked about end user funds. So they have found cases that end user funds has not been verified. Lack of proof or proper documentation obtained and retained in respect of agriculture gold loan. So in case you are giving a gold loan for agriculture activities, you will have to keep proof of having that loan is being used for agriculture activity. It may be the copy of the land where that cultivation is happening or any such proof which may be required. So that is important. Okay, sanction of top-up gold loans to facilitate evergreening of loans. So top-up loans are being granted to basically help in recovery of these, to somehow save the account from becoming an then account open and close within a very short period of time. So RBI have raised concern that we are not able to understand the logic for such a activity where a lot of accounts are getting open and closed within a very short period of time. Then realization from auction of gold was very low. So wherever the customer is not repaying, to recover the amount, banks go for auction of the gold, the jewel loans, the jewel packets. So RBI have found out that the recovery which is happening there is very low in comparison to the value which has been shown valued at the originally due date. So this is a cause of a concern. Then gold loan disbursed in cash was very high and statutory limit under Income Tax Act was not being followed. So there is a limit under which how much amount of loan can be given in cash under the Income Tax Act. You must remember Section 269 double S. So in a lot of cases, cash disbursement was being done, and they were even breaching the limit of the Income Tax Act. Then rollover of gold loans at the end of tenure with only part payment. So this is a bigger problem with gold loan, that there is a repayment of the gold loan at the end of the tenure. They, on the basis of the same jewel packet, they give another loan, and the proceeds of that new gold loan is used for the repayment of the earlier gold loan. So they have said this is not a proper practice. This is not an acceptable practice. Non-categorization of gold loans as NPA by evergreening by renewal fresh loans. So these are the some of the points which has been pointed out with the Reserve Bank of India. So wherever you are verifying gold loans, please check these points, refer to this circular. In case the branch says that this is an acceptable practice or this is allowed or our internal circular allows it, please show them this circular issued by the Reserve Bank of India on September 30th, 2024, and basically verify that these type of issues are not acceptable to even the other. Okay. Okay. There are some questions again. Sir, in KCC 5 tenure and bank has not renewed the account, so in that case the account becomes NP after 150 days. If the borrower not repaid the loan account, or we have to apply crop season for NPA, sir. So in case there is no renewal of the KCC, then in that case, fresh disbursement cannot be done. The earlier loan have to be repaid. And of course, because you are not allowing a fresh disbursement, then the renewal per se would not result in an account becoming an NPA. If they are allowing a fresh disbursement without renewal, then of course the it is a cause of concern and the account may slip into NPA. Can you share your PPT through mail, sir? That would be shared. If charge not created, EM also not created, secured by tangible assets or unsecured. Now, suppose a charge itself has not been created, then the bank has no right over the asset. Okay. So in that case, it will become an unsecured asset. If the charge has been created, it may not have been registered under SARSAI, then or under the Companies Act if it is a corporate borrower. Then in that case, the charge is already there. The customer would have to honor that charge. There are certain discrepancies, there are certain lacunas. Like in case you do not create a charge under SARSAI on say a immovable property, and some other bank is not aware that you already have a charge and they create another charge. Then in that case, what would happen? The charge of that bank which is creating it thereafter, in the normal case, that charge would not be would become a kind of a second charge. But because the first bank did not create the charge and the second bank created, took the property under mortgage and created the charge, his right would become superior to the first bank. So that is the effect of non-registration of a charge. But per se, if the charge, if basically a mortgage has been created, but the charge has not been registered, you will not be able to per se say it is a unsecured property, unsecured loan, basically. Okay. transaction audit under LFAR 10% and or 10 crores means one concern or two or more concern of same person also included, please explain. So, what Chand Prakash ji is asking is, when you look at LFAR, it provides for a sample. It says certain accounts, borrower accounts, are to be compulsorily covered under audit. Like they say, 10% of the aggregate of the fund base and the non-fund base advances of the branch, or rupees 10 crore, whichever is less. So first thing is what you have to remember while taking that 10% is it consists of the fund base and non-fund base. So you have to add the above in the balance sheet. There is a figure of advances which is appearing. You have to add that with the figures of those contingent liabilities which are appearing below the line, like BGs, bank guarantees, letter of credits, standby letter of credits, that you have to add manually to the figure of advances and then take a 10%. Okay, or 10 crore, whichever is less. That would become part of a compulsory sample. Rest of the samples you will have to take based upon whatever questions you have to answer in LFER. Like there is one question about loan against FD. So you will have to take some samples of loan against FD to be able to answer to that question also. So that should also form part of your sample. Now, suppose there are multiple companies under a single group, they would be aggregated for the purpose of calculation of this limit of 10%. So, if the companies are under a single group, you should consider them collectively for the purpose of this 10% limit. Okay, I hope that clarifies the question. Any other questions, please keep on asking so that we are able to answer it together. Two or more, two, three issues which I want to discuss with you along with this is uh, this is all about getting hold of new NPAs. Please also take care of old NPAs which are already there, which has been classified as NPAs by the banks themselves. For example, do a matching of the NPAs of this year with the NPAs of the last year. Okay. There is also a chart which is prepared by the bank generally and asked to be certified by the auditors. We say it as a movement of NPA chart. Okay. Please look at that chart also. Look at all the NPAs there in the sense that prepare a list. NPAs last year, NPA this year. Then NPAs last year, not an NPA this year, and not an NPA last year and NPA this year. You have to check all three lists. What you have to check in that account NPA last year, NPA this year. What do you think we need to check is one, check the date of NPA. We have seen cases, sir, the account has continued to remain as an NPA, but the date of NPA was changing. The date of NPA can change, sir, in exceptional circumstances. The account may have been upgraded during the year and then again downgraded. So the rate of NPA might change, but that would happen only in exceptional cases. So in case the rate of NPA is changing, please check whether the change is correct or not. Secondly, the NPA norm says that in case an account becomes an NPA, there is no application of interest to the account unless until it is realized. So in case the balance of NPA is increasing from last year, you need to verify how the balance is increasing because the bank would not have allowed any debits to the account. There would not be any application of interest to the account. So how the balance is increasing, you need to verify. If the balance is decreasing, then you will have to see what is the norms for recovery of balance in an NPA account. So suppose an account becomes an NPA, there is the interest application is stopped. Now there is a actual realization of fund. So you'll have to see the bank policy. The bank policy would state whether we would recover principal first and then the interest. Certain banks would say that we'll first recover interest and then we will recover principal. What happens practically is there is a recovery in the account. You credit the money to the account. You do not charge interest. You do not recover interest manually. What happens is it adjusts the principal amounts. Whereas the policy might be saying that we have to first recover interest. So sometimes these issues do arise during course of audits. So the recovery policy itself is being violated, not deliberately. A lot of times it is because of lack of understanding, or maybe a mistake in not reversing the interest. Okay, an account which was an account which becomes NPA last year, but is not an NPA this year. It may be due to upgradation. So please check the norms of upgradation has been met. The RBI says if an NPA account is to be upgraded, on the date of upgradation, there should be nil overdues. There should not even be a rupee one which is overdue for payment. Okay, then only it can be upgraded. Then the second question arises is compromise, return of settlement, etc. Now there was a circular which came in 2023 of the Reserve Bank of India, which talked about compromise, return of settlement. So please look at that circular also. There is a specific point in LFAR which asks you about all those cases of compromise, return of settlement, etc. So in all those cases, you need to verify. Generally, when you ask the branch how many cases are there, they would generally not tell you the number of cases or not provide you the list. They say we do not have any accounts. So when we do this comparison, we are able to find all such cases. And you can actually check whether there will be wherever there has been a technical write-off or there is a compromise, it has been approved by the correct authority, whether whatever conditions are were there for compromise, etc., they have been achieved or not. Even the circular, the 2023 circular of the Reserve Bank of India says that if you're allowing a time, you're doing a compromise, you're allowing a time of more than 3 months to the customer for repayment, it may amount to a restructuring. So that also you need to see, sir. Okay. And then thirdly, accounts which were NPA last time, not an NPA this year, because the complete repayment was done, the account is closed down. Please see the source of recovery. It should not happen that another loan was granted to the same customer, and from the loan proceeds of that loan, the earlier loan was repaid, and they are saying that the loan has been paid off and the recovery has happened. So the source of fund is very important. We have seen activities where in one of the cases, somebody reported to us, and practically we saw that nearly 700 accounts were closed down, which were NPA last year, were closed down in this year. How it was done on, say, 1st of March, what the branch did was, say, there was an account of Mr. Ramlal, which has 10 lakh rupees payable. It was an NPA last year. They credited the account of Ramlal by 10 lakh rupees, debited some office account with 10 lakh rupees. And uh, on the end of the day, they open another account of Ramlal, say Ramlal new account, debited it with 10 lakhs, credited the office account. So ultimately what they did was they have basically did a basically the old account which was marked as an NPA, it was closed down through misuse of the office account, and a new account was opened. So Ramlal had to pay 10 lakhs in the morning, 10 lakhs in the evening. There is no change. Office account has been knocked down, but what they have done through this process is that they have basically shown recovery in NP account, which are not the actual recoveries. So please need to check that any such activity might not have been done. And in case it is a freshly identified NPA, so it was not an NPA last year, it was an NPA this year. You need to check one, the date of NPA, whether it has been correctly done. Now, let me ask again a question is whether NPA identification has to be done at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the half year, or end of the year. So RBI again clarified NPA identification is a daily affair. So you can mark NPA at any point of the year, any day. It necessarily does not mean that it has to be either end of the month or end of the quarter or something. It can be done at any point of the time. Okay, so that is important. Now, again, you have to check the date of NPA and income derecognition. So system, once you mark it as an NPA, it stops recognizing interest, it stops debiting interest to the account unless and until it is realized. But there is a derecognition concept also, that any interest which was already debited to the account and which has not been recovered, realized, needs to be derecognized. This we have seen is a problem area in banks, that the derecognition does not happen in the correct fashion. So in those cases where the bank itself has identified an NPA, sometimes we have seen MOCs coming because that derecognition was not done properly. So that you have to keep in mind. Similarly, in case of restructured account, we discuss that if account is restructured, account slips into NPA category, except in certain, in case you are covered by certain circulars. The thumb rule is it slips into NPA category, and it will continue to slip from substandard to doubtful to loss, whatever, as per the pre-restructuring schedule. So sometimes the question is ki when they can be upgraded, when an account which has been downgraded due to being restructured, when can they be upgraded back? Whether the same norms apply as in case of a normal NPA? No, sir. The norms are different, sir, in case of restructuring. So, like for movement of NPAs, there is also a certificate which you sign for movement of restructured accounts. And it is year wise. For every year, there is a certificate. So, there would be a bunch of certificates which you are signing for every year. Please compare the information from last year to this year. See if there have been any changes. There, some accounts may have been upgraded. So you need to check whether the upgradation has been done properly as per the norms prescribed by the Reserve Bank of India. The norms are different for MSME loans and for other loans. In case of MSME, it states that there should be a satisfactory performance during a specified period. So they have defined specified period, they have defined satisfactory performance. Okay, these definitions are different for MSME loans and for non-MSME loans. So whenever you do the comparison, sir, please also see whether if there is any upgradation, any changes in the account, you need to verify whether they are as per the RBI norms. Okay, so this you have to keep in mind. Sometimes trying to identify new NPAs is important, but it should not happen that the old NPAs are being uh, taken out of the NPA net without following the proper RBI circulars guidelines in this regard. Okay. Okay, there is a question from Ashutosh ji. It says, as per SLBC, Rajasthan crop season decided 12 months for short crops. Hence, for NPA classification, 36 months should be taken, but as per the guideline note, 24 months. How auditors should approach NPA? Please explain this. Okay. So, Ashutosh ji, see again, please do not get confused. There are two concepts. Let me repeat it again for clarification. One is the concept of crop season, another is the concept of marketing period. Okay. Crop season ends on the date of harvesting. Now, if SLBC Rajasthan circular says the crop season itself is 12 months, okay, that means only one crop can be grown in the year. You cannot grow another crop. The reason precisely being that आपकी लैंड के ऊपर क्रॉप है सर, क्या आप दूसरी क्रॉप उगा सकते हो? आंसर इज नो, नॉट पॉसिबल. इट इज अगेंस्ट ऑल नेचुरल जो आपके लॉज हैं उसके अगेंस्ट. तो क्रॉप जब तक हार्वेस्ट नहीं होगी, यू कैन नॉट ग्रो अ सेकेंड क्रॉप. So if they are saying the crop season itself is 1 year, that itself would mean they cannot give loan for two crops. They can only give loan for one crop. इस साल में तो एक ही फसल होगी. अगर वो हार्वेस्ट ही नहीं हुई तो दूसरी क्रॉप आप उगा ही नहीं सकते सर. ठीक है. तो क्रॉप सीजन, और दूसरी बात सर पता क्या होती है, क्रॉप सीजन जो है ना, उनको बताने के लिए बताया गया, दे कैन नॉट आर्टिफिशियली जनरेट अ क्रॉप सीजन. वो चलती है नेचुरल जो आपकी लॉज है. जैसे कि अगर आप गेहूं 6 महीने में होना है तो वो 6 महीने में ही होगा सर. में SLBC के सर्कुलर निकाल देने से वो 12 महीने में नहीं होना शुरू हो जाएगा. तो यू विल हैव टू चेक सर. ठीक है. तो कई बार मुझे पता है SLBC आर issuing circulars just with the intention, the only intention they have in mind sometimes is how the delay can be achieved in this classification of account as NPA? How much delay they can do, sir? Which is not the proper process here, sir. So sometimes we'll have to look at logically, understand it, and then take a call, sir. If you still have any issues, sir, because I do not have the SLBC Rajasthan circular is not available before me. You can give me a call. We can discuss it often also, based upon when I am able to see the Rajasthan SLBC circular. But please understand कि सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात कि अगर 12 महीने का क्रॉप सीजन है तो यानी आप कह रहे हैं कि पूरे साल में सिर्फ एक ही क्रॉप होती है, क्योंकि क्रॉप सीजन एंड्स ओनली ऑन हार्वेस्टिंग, एंड हार्वेस्टिंग से पहले दूसरी क्रॉप आप उगा नहीं सकते। अगर क्रॉप पहले से हुई है तो दूसरी क्रॉप तो नहीं आ सकती। ठीक है। Okay. Now, please explain rescheduling. This we have already discussed. If you have any specific question, Garibanji, we can discuss. Financial commands to check master data of a loan account. So, sir, what I can do is basically कि I can forward to the branch to CIRC a list of financial commands specifically which are helpful to the auditors. उसमें फिनेकल के भी मैं दे दूंगा आपको, बैंक्स के भी दे दूंगा, which are the two most commonly used software, and some of them I have for FlexCube also, which is the third software, which is not very common, but of course may be used by certain banks. So that I can provide, and ECRC can share it with all the people. Ashutosh, in very old or no valuation report in NP cases, how to calculate value of security in NP? So what RBI is saying that in case of NPA accounts, you have to do a periodic valuation of securities. Now you will have to see, sir, based upon the available record, if the valuation has not been done, can we say the valuation is zero, sir? I personally feel I am a bit reluctant, in my personal opinion, doing this, especially when the property consists, the property security which we are relying upon is a immovable property. If it is some stock and stocks, letters, etc., and there is no stock statement which has been submitted, there is no stock audit report also which is there, then of course I would not be able to accept any value of the security in that regard. But if it is the securities consist of properties, immovable properties, etc., and unless there are circumstances which suggest otherwise, I'll be very reluctant to treat the value as zero, sir. Okay, because we have to, what RBI is saying, we have to take the realizable value as a security. So there might be questions as to the what is the realizable value. It may be 10%, 20% lower or higher. But if we say it is zero, then we are saying there is no value of the property itself, which sometimes seems to a bit absurd. This is my personal opinion on this. Okay. Please also enlighten home loan specific cases to be verified. So home loan, I think they are work like any term loans. Of course, the biggest concern is cases where home loans have been granted for properties under construction, and on the basis of the report which you may have seen on the files, or otherwise basis the knowledge of the local conditions, we are aware that the builder might have run away itself. Okay, in those cases, the value of the security, whether it exists, is questionable. So in those cases, you will have to really think whether you can consider these home loans insecure. Because if the builder itself has run away, the property itself is not constructed, and unless until the builder returns and starts completion of the property, the any chance of recovery from the property is absolutely remote. And in that case, you will have to consider whether there is actually any realizable value of the security. Okay, so another question which has come is what are important documents we must check for agriculture loan like land, etc. So in the case of agriculture, sir, earlier there was a limit of up to 1.6 lakh rupees. There was no requirement of a collateral security. That limit has been enhanced to 2 lakh rupees this year. So up to 2 lakh rupees of loan, there is no requirement of taking a collateral security. Any any basically loan taken beyond 2 lakh rupees, a collateral security, generally the land is taken as a security. So you will have to check for the chain of title documents from the legal technical report which is submitted, whether all the documents are available or not. You will have to check creation of that registered mortgage with the local land revenue authorities, and you will have to also check for the creation of the surcharge charge, because that is additionally to be created in case of registered mortgage also. So please check for these cases. Check for the sanction letter, the due date, how they have calculated the due date of repayment of the agriculture loans, because basis upon that only you will be able to calculate that two short-term crops or one long-term crop season, and then based upon which you will be able to classify the accounts as NPS. So these are the most commonly documents which are used in case of agriculture loans. Okay. Again, if Ashutosh ji, borrower died, how to check precaution taken by bank and auditors? So first thing is how the bank was informed that the borrower has died. If the borrower has died, suppose it is a case of a loan against property, some housing loan is there. Sometimes the banks take certain kind of insurance policies to cover these kind of incidents. So you can look at those, whether the claim has been filed, what is the status of the claim, you can see. Secondly, in case it is kind of a business loan, then suppose it's a proprietorship, you will have to see what efforts have been made by the bank to, because the business may be continuing, the proprietor may have been replaced by the wife or some son or daughter of the deceased. So in those cases, you'll have to see that the revised loan documents are signed with the new person in hand. And of course, once the loan holder dies, the bank cannot continue with the same account except for some very limited purposes. They cannot allow any debits to the account because the person who can give that authority itself is no longer there. So the authority itself does not hold good. So you'll have to see whether any transactions has been allowed in the account after the date of the debt, except for the recovery of interest and all, which of course the bank can debit. But apart from it, they cannot allow any other debits to the account. So that you will have to check, sir. Any other questions, sir?
Does anybody have any other questions? I don't think so. Sir, you have explained so well. So I think, sir, if you could share the documents regarding some of the commands that we should use in Finacle that make our life easy in the bank audit, that would
Surely,
be really
I'll
helpful.
do that. I'll share for Finacle also, and I'll share for banks also.
Correct, correct.
These are the two most commonly used software, and I think that would immensely help our professional here to actually conduct a good audit. And I'll definitely share it to you.
Okay, yeah, that would be really helpful. Okay, there is one more question. If no new document executed.
If no new document executed, then of course this is a very serious discrepancy. The account would be there is a chance because again now the account is under freeze. There cannot be a debit to the account except for the recovery of interest and charges. And credits bank can accept up to a limited sense. So in those cases, the account is under now the recovery might not be happening, and the if the business the proof is not given for the business being continued, then itself will have to see whether the security exists. So the collateral might exist, the primary security might have disappeared now because the if the business itself is not been continued or the evidence is not shown to you. So in those cases, you will have to appropriately classify the account. Even the account may slip into NPA categories. But just because the documents have not been taken, you may not classify the account as an NPA per se. But of course, the transaction in the account would have to stop. So that could result into a problem. And till the new documents are signed, you cannot allow the transaction in the account. So this is what you need to keep in mind.
So I think that is it. So now I request here Rajiv Gupta ji to please come forward for closing address.
Thank you, MOC. Today moderator our Ruchi Gupta ji, our regional colleague. from Jaipur itself, and my CRC chairman Ankur Kumar Gupta ji is there. I thanks the लोकेश गुप्ता सर, और लोकेश सर ने सिर्फ आज का जो जितने अच्छे तरीके से लोन एडवांसेस लिया, सबसे अच्छी बात यह है कि सर ने हमें बहुत कोऑपरेट किया, सीआरसी के अनुरोध पे आए। और अभी लास्ट मुझे याद है सर, 30th को आई थिंक यू आर बिजी इन सम कैचिंग अ फ्लाइट। तो सर ने मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ एक्सक्यूज दिया, सर ने हमारे लिए अरेंज किया फैकल्टी। तो सर ने एक नहीं, हमारे 2 वेबिनार करवाई है। और हमारे नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर अभी मुझे जितना जानकारी है, शायद आप इंदौर भी थे सर, लोकेश सर, अगर मैं सही था।
मैं इंदौर नहीं था सर अब की बारी, बट
अ,
मैं आपके
सर
सीआरसी के अंदर गाजियाबाद था, नोएडा था।
गाजियाबाद नोएडा थे।
हाँ।
ओके। तो सर आपसे हमें हमेशा ही प्यार मिलता रहा है, और हमने तो आपको समझ के ही ऑडिट करना शुरू किया। सही बात तो ये, हम भी थोड़ा बहुत बाद में एग्रीकल्चर एडवांसेस पे मेरी रहती है टॉक जनरली, बट आपको हमने सर बहुत पहले से सुना है। और आज मुझे लगता है कि सभी हमारे व्यूवर्स को, अच्छा जो नंबर है सर, पिछले हम 8 डेज से सीरीज चला रहे हैं, टुडे आवर 7 डेज। अभी इसमें अमरजीत चोपड़ा जी भी थे एक दिन, बाकी भी थे। तो इस बार मेंबर के लिए एक अच्छी बात यह है कि सर मेंबर दूर दूर से, बेसिकली हमने ये देखा सर कि जो प्रोग्राम होते हैं वो ब्रांचों में, क्योंकि फिजिकल होते हैं तो वहां पे बड़ी ब्रांचों में तो हो जाते हैं, स्पीकर भी अच्छे आ जाते हैं। बट जो रिमोट एरियाज में है, जो टाइमिंग जिनके पास शॉर्ट रहता है या वेन्यू पे नहीं पहुंच पाते हैं, तो लास्ट टाइम भी हमने देखा कुछ मुंबई से हमारे साथ लोग जुड़े हुए थे, और उन्होंने बड़ा अप्रिशिएट किया। तो सर आज आपने जो भी चीजें बारीकी बताई, किस तरीके से सबवेंशन को चेक करना, वर्कशीट कैसे चेक करनी है, बाकी हमें जो रिपोर्ट्स हमें ध्यान रखनी है, और जो चीजें आजकल नई अपडेशन आपने बताया, 1.6 का 2 लाख का हो गया है चार्ज का क्रिएशन के लिए। तो ये सारी चीजें सर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। और एक सर ये गोल्ड लोन में जो, मुझे लगता है सर इस बार कुछ ऐसा होगा क्या, जो अपना साउथ में काफी जो गोल्ड लोन चलता है, और ये जो नया सर्कुलर आया 30 सितंबर वाला, तो इससे कुछ इस बार इम्पैक्ट ज्यादा आएगा सर, मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है। क्योंकि
मुझे
लास्ट टाइम
लगता
मेरे
है
पास
सर कि
गरीब थी।
सर ये इशू
सर
तो
बताइए।
पहले से ही था फ्रैंकली,
हाँ, लेकिन वो
बट अब की
नया
बार
अकाउंट खोल
आरबीआई
के
ने
पुराने लोगों
इसको,
को सेटल कर देते सर वो।
हाँ कई बार वो लोग है ना उसको, उनको समझा नहीं पाते थे, ये कह नहीं पाते थे कि भाई ये एनपी है क्योंकि आप इसको रोल ओवर
हम्म
कर रहे हो, ये एक्सेप्टेबल प्रैक्टिस नहीं है। नाउ
हम्म
विद दिस
हम्म।
सर्कुलर एवरीबॉडी हैज गॉट अ टूल कि भाई देखो आरबीआई ऐसा कह रहा है, इट इज नॉट माय ओपिनियन।
वो तो सर सर्कुलर से वो चेंज कर लिया होगा उन्होंने, मतलब क्या लगता है मुझे, तो अभी
नहीं
भी
सर,
ऐसा लगता है सर,
वो
हार्डली
एक्चुअली
मैटर।
टिपिकली ना ये इशू है एक्चुअली व्हाट इज हैपनिंग। अगर मैं इसको देखूं, कल भी मैं किसी कोई हमारे मेरे मित्र हैं जो सीएसए हैं उनसे डिस्कस हो रहा था। So this is
हाँ
becoming a problem for the bank because at the time they give a jewel loan, they are
हाँ
not verifying the repayment capacity of the borrower। और वो
हाँ।
होता क्या है, 1 साल बाद उसको रिपेमेंट करना है, उसके पास पैसे हैं नहीं। तो
नहीं है।
अभी बैंक उसको स्लिप होने दें एनपीए में, तो उन्होंने
हाँ
सबने ये प्रोसेस बना लिया कि उसको रोल ओवर करके उसी पैकेट पे एक और लोन देते हैं, उसके पैसे से पुराना लोन चुकाते हैं। और वो
हाँ,
सालों से चल रहा है प्रैक्टिस।
बिल्कुल। तो मेरा मतलब सर, इस
ओवरनाइट
सर्कुलर
तो
में
नहीं
चेंज
बदल
कैसे
पाएंगे
होगा?
ये।
चेंज कैसे होगा, या तो बहुत एनपीए निकलेगा सर इस बार, तो फिर उस हिसाब से।
तो अच्छा ना सर, ऑडिटर्स करेंगे। देखिए हर एक चेंज को ना कहीं कोई ट्रिगर करता है जब भी वो उसमें चेंज आता है सिस्टम में।
हाँ
जैसे
हाँ हाँ
आज तक हम नॉन फंड बेस्ड लोन्स को नहीं देखते थे, जो जिसको हम
हाँ
जैसे बीजीएलसी को नहीं देखते थे। फिर नीरव मोदी का स्कैम हुआ, तो एकदम से
हाँ।
लोगों को लगा कि यार यहाँ पे भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। तो लोग जागृत हुए, लोगों ने थोड़ा बहुत देखना शुरू किया कहीं पे। तो ऐसे ही मुझे
हम्म
लगता है कि गोल्ड लोन का जो अब की बार का आरबीआई का सर्कुलर है, इट विल ब्रिंग दैट चेंज। इट
हम्म।
will the banks to also improve their functioning
चलिए।
there।
चलिए सर, अच्छा है सर। तो सर आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपने टाइम इतना स्पेयर किया। और हमारे चेयरमैन साहब जिन्होंने ये सीरीज को, मतलब एक 8 डेज की सीरीज, मैं पिछले 3 साल से सीआरसी में हूँ, लेकिन इतनी लंबी सीरीज जो हम फर्स्ट टाइम इस तरीके से रन कर पा रहे हैं। तो सर ये हमारे जो चेयरमैन साहब है उनका विजन था, और रुचि मैम ने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से मॉडरेशन का कार्यक्रम किया इस पूरे आज के प्रोग्राम में। और जितने पार्टिसिपेंट है मैं उनको बताना चाहूंगा, स्टार्टिंग में ही हमारे चेयरमैन साहब ने लिंक डाल दिया था, जितनी भी हमारे वेबिनार हुई है पिछली भी, उन सबका लिंक यहाँ पर है, और यूट्यूब चैनल सीआरसी से उससे देख सकते हैं। तो मेरी बैकएंड टीम जो है, खान साहब, सौरभ जी, सभी को मेरा धन्यवाद कि उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से मैनेज कर रहे हैं प्रोग्राम को। तो हम कल फिर मिलेंगे अपने आखिरी डे, 8 डे के लिए। और अभी के लिए विदाई लेते हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू रुचि मैम।
Thank you.